Language plays important role in shaping children's mind. If you're talking to a child, you just don't stand up and talk because there is some high difference and that signifies the dominance, which we don't want that. So whenever we are approaching kids, we are on our knees, talking on their level. Never say no to the kids. That creates a negative mindset in them. Instead of saying like, no, that's inconditional, that's a good try. So you are motivating them so that they attempt next time. That promotes growth and further communication. Hence, you bond better. Here in Australia, there is a thing called strength-based approach. So you plan anything in the childcare, keeping that fact in mind, okay, these are the things that would interest the child.
How about in terms of some kids getting into fight? Is there bullying inside the school? Have you seen that and how controlled that is?
So basically, that's the story of almost every school. They will ask you out of nowhere question, and the moment you ignore that question, they'll chase you with the same question, whether it's in the class or outside. So the best way is to address them, keep them entertained so that they don't bother you further.
If a student comes and tell you that they are demotivated, how do you handle them?
Someday it is okay. Even we get demotivated someday. All you have to do is, you know what? Let it be. This shall too pass. Use that sentence because everything is temporary. World is already at chaotic space now. Yeah. So as a teacher, we have to find a way to motivate them. Okay, there is still hope and you will be part of that.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Impact Dairies, where I bring various successful and professional people from all walks of life to learn from their journey of struggle to spark so that we can impact our lives. Today we have another incredible guest. He came to Australia 8 years ago as an international student and worked really hard as a student, as a professional, and currently working as high school teacher, shedding the lights for the students in this beautiful country. So today, in this episode, we are going to explore his journey on his challenges, experiences, lessons that he have learned, and how he ended up being a high school teacher. So without further ado, please help me welcome Manoj Kumar Singh on this show. Manoj, welcome, mate.
Thank you so much. How are you? Man. Good?
I'm good.
Yeah.
So my audience would like to know a little bit about you, your background, where you come from. And for those people who don't know anything about you, please tell us who is Manoj Kumar Singh and what does he stand for? So
my name is Manoj Kumar Singh. I am also known as MK or Mr. Singh by my colleagues. Currently I work in one of the high school in Western Sydney region under Department of Education, New South Wales. It's been 3 years I have been in this profession. Prior to that, I was a qualified early child care teacher working as a role of educational leader and center manager. I have worked there for 5 years and gained a lot of experience in teaching and managing smaller children. And that experience I have polished further and gained further qualification, and now I have ended up working as a full-time high school teacher teaching junior and senior sciences.
Fantastic. That's a really good and impressive introduction of yours. And how about your background? Where in Nepal you come from? When did you come to Australia? Let's actually go back to that part as well and then give our audience a bit of more information on that.
All right, so I was born in Mohotari district of Nepal, which is under Janakpur zone. Apart from that, we were moved to another place called Sarlahi Lalbandi, where I completed my high school qualification, moved to Kathmandu for completing my year 12 and bachelor's degree there, stayed there for 8 years, worked as a part-time teacher and full-time teacher.
So you were a teacher back in Nepal?
Yeah, so that teaching journey had started long ago, even back in the days when I was still in year 8 and 9, I used to do like home tuitions. So I had a good number of kids like in my locality. So I used to teach them for free and also at a reduced rate. So that already built my passion towards education, and it was all about refinement. So over the time, you just observe what's going around, adapt your teaching style, you get influenced by different good teachers, and also you have some not so great teachers that you learn, okay, in the future these are the things I don't want in me to be as a successful and credible teacher. So you learn from your life experience what you observe around, and then refine those skills on you and finally evolve.
That's great. So when did you come to Australia? And when you came, how was your living like? How did you feel about Australia, your impression, and did anything shock you or surprise you?
I came to Australia in 2017, so it was almost 8 years ago. I didn't come alone. I came with my cousin. We both came at the same time. I had one of my students who helped me to secure an apartment. So me, my cousin, and there was one of my students who we were sharing a room with. So we were squeezed into a small 2-bedroom unit where we shared one common room, where we had 2 massive bedrooms, we had our study areas, everything set up there. So it was a little bit congested to live around, but we were working at different shifts. Had college and our work at different times. So it was not that bad. But as a startup, that's how you start it. So you see how can you fit yourself best into the new circumstance. So it was kind of overwhelming for a week or two.
What was overwhelming in terms of, because I understand where you're coming from as well. And there's so many people who are overwhelmed with their study, managing multiple things because they are not used to doing that back in our country, right? And they are left alone right here and they have to figure out every challenges and sort it out along the way. So what was the overwhelming part for you?
Here, everything was new. You barely know anyone. So I lived in Auburn for 1.5 years. So everything was new. So we had no idea how Google Map works. That is most common because back home, we just ask someone if we have to go somewhere.
Yeah.
There is no concept of using Google Maps. So that's how we have grown up. So here, it's a massive space. And so you say you are living in Sydney, but you are 30, 40, 50 kilometers away from Sydney. So the radius is extensively high. So although you are living in Sydney, but you are not in Sydney. Sydney is just the CBD.
Yeah.
So it was hard to commute from one place to another. So we had no idea that there's a thing called Opal card you have to use to travel. So we have to learn. So basically, someone who we were sharing the room with, he just helped us to go to city and come back, how to use that. We should not forget to tap in and out so that we don't get charged over, how to top it up and then we had to open a bank account, get our tax file number. So these are the basics he guided us through. I mean, he was a nice person.
And you said he was your past student, yeah?
No, that was with me, but he came a few months ago. Landlord who was staying with us, he basically guided us through because he was from same community and he has been there for a while. So he appreciated he's staying with the same community member and he could talk around and we were friendly people. He were friendly too. So usually it was more about getting to know around and we would help him, especially if we are going to grocery, we would help him to carry groceries, to have a chat, sit around, have a drink and chat around it late night. So for him, he used to come back around midnight and we were just awake because the time zone is different. So for us, it was very hard to settle for first few weeks. So until then, he was a good company.
That's fantastic. How about your study? Where did you study and how long you were in Australia and after how long that you started your going to uni? And
I have already completed my bachelor's degree back from TU from home. So here I wanted to do master's, but I was the last batch who has completed 3 years bachelor's degree. So for them, they don't recognize 3 years bachelor degree overseas. So all I have to do is restart again. And I was already doing a teaching back home and I was passionate about. So I chose a degree that was very close to teaching. Now that was a bachelor in early childhood education and care, birth to 5. So they specialize you in teaching children from 6 months to 5 years or 6 years up to kindergarten. So you specialize teaching the smaller children here. So that was the degree's name. I did that from Nirimba TAFE, which lasted for 4 years. It took 4 years time to finish one degree. I mean, Nirimba is TAFE is popular for a vocational kind of education, but it also has some bachelor's degree courses like Bachelor IT. They do offer few undergraduate courses as well.
So early childhood and education, that's what you studied.
Right.
How was that course in compared to what you studied back in Nepal?
All right. So back home, I had studied Bachelor in Microbiology, which was a fantastic course. But same thing here. Back home, there are very few male educators who studies Bachelor in Microbiology. So in my whole batch, I was the only male. I thought, okay, let's change the subject and I may have different group of people to know around. I enrolled here. Out of the whole 30 students in a single batch, I was again only the male here. So it was little bit of isolated kind of situation where your thinking is slightly different from how people around you, they judge you why he is doing the childcare. That's the general stigma people have here. So male educator and childcare, they don't go very well.
If I may ask, why do male educator and childcare don't go together?
Thing is, they believe we are survival expert and female usually are quality expert. So they are good in maintaining the quality, but whereas when it comes to male, we are more we think of how to survive day to day. So from that point of view, they think they might be expert in managing stuff rather than nurturing. So because of that way, people like, perceive child educating process, they think female have more contribution than male. So, and that has also, if you see the demography of it, there are maximum female educators in like childcare or any early childcare industry than male. That's why it's a little bit hard, and that is also the reason sometimes male educators go through a lot of different ups and downs as compared to the female.
There's very interesting research actually regarding that. What I've learned is that females are generally, they are interested in people, and men, they are interested in things. So for example, if you look like teacher, women are interested in teaching, taking care of children, because they are interested in people. If we have to see like your child roles, like there will be so many women because they are really good at reading people, right? We think about men, they are like more interested in things like space, Elon Musk, right? And even though women like to cook, but the new dish are always found by men, right? They are interested in things because we are biologically different, right?
Yeah, you got to accept that. We are definitely biologically different, but the thing is, every sector requires like, two different perspectives, a male perspective and a female perspective. You already have enough female perspective in the childcare industry.
Yeah.
So you need something different what you already have. You need to diversify the thinking. You need to balance the way how a children perceive gender. Because in childcare, there are different domains which you teach students on daily basis. So what you do is, if they see the male and female teacher, they approach them for different purpose. Like for example, when I just started in 2018, my first job in a childcare, after I finishing my first semester, I got offered a job in one of the reputed center in Parramatta. I worked there for almost 2.5 years. Until the center closed because of those lease agreement, like it came to end and they didn't want to continue further.
Yeah.
So it was a great center, and they were happy to have a male educator because children love to run around and play a lot. They had got massive indoor-outdoor kind of space, and where children need to run because they consume so much of food, they have so much of energy, and they are always looking for challenges. And to balance them out, you need to go with the flow, what they want to do. So you play with them soccer, run around, giggle around, that's what they want. Biologically, some females are restricted to that. I mean, they can serve them good nutritious food, they can provide them quality education better than us at most of the time, agreed. But at the end of the day, there is a thing called physical domain which is very hard to manage by certain genders. So you have to embed that aspect in childcare center, and that center recognizes, okay, I might be the potential person to close that bridge. So they were already one of the established business in the vicinity, and they had around 50 kids per day. So, and there were around 10 educators. So they didn't have any male educators. So they wanted me so that I fulfill that gap of getting different perspectives in the childcare center. And children would not be surprised if they see male teacher in primary and secondary, because in childcare you might see mostly female teachers, but the moment they go to kindergarten, primary and secondary, the demography of gender changes, and for them it shouldn't come as a surprise.
That's interesting. Really interesting insights, Manoj. When you're working as a childcare school teacher, what do you think is the hardest part being a teacher?
I mean, sometimes it takes time to learn the politeness, because the way we approach kids and the way female educator is slightly different. And also remember, we come from different background. We are we came from overseas where talking politely to child is not we do on daily basis. So here you nurture child right from 6 months onwards. They started enrolling in childcare from 6 months onwards. So the way you approach is slightly different from there. Here we learn over time, like we do study theoretically in colleges, but at the same time, after every semester, you spend around 5 to 6 weeks doing a practical experience in the center itself, where you go interact with the kids, program for them, know what are the Australian dietary guidelines to follow so that they get nutritious food rather than just adding some junk food there. So you schedule everything, and then you know how to talk, because language plays important role in shaping children's mind. If you're talking to a child, you just don't stand up and talk, because there is some high difference, and that signifies the dominance, which we don't want that. So whenever we are approaching kids, we are on our knees talking on their level, so they feel like they are heard, and they can approach to you when they feel unsafe, or if they need some kind of help, so they can approach you confidently.
That's a really great insight of going down and then getting into their level. That will actually really help them psychologically to tell them that we are their friends, right?
Right, and also it's all about creating that bond, because childcare is all about bonding. The more you bond, the better education you can provide them, and the student is feeling that circle of security where they are more expressive. And one thing you have to comment at all times is never say no to the kids. If you straight away like write them off, that creates a negative mindset in them. So anytime, let's say you ask them something and they tell you something, instead of saying like, no, that's inconditional, that's a good try. So you are motivating them so that they attempt next time. So the idea of giving them positive affirmation rather than straight negative, that promotes a like sense of growth and further communication. Hence, you bond better with those kinds of kids.
I love that idea where you are trying to create a very safe environment where you're saying, hey, I'm not saying no to you, but that's like a good try. That is really powerful. And what other strategies in your experience you have applied in terms of creating a bond with them?
So there's a thing called story time. You read a story and then you create some silly question where they will laugh and answer. Just read. So like read any story and they'll be like, why the giraffe has stripes all over, or why in zebra crossing you don't find any zebra. Just make any silly question, they'll be like, haha, that's funny. And they will come up with some answers. So all you have to do is make the learning fun and then extend it further to achieve what you have intended to with storytelling. So the idea is to introduce new words to them. The idea is to let them participate and communicate back. The idea is to create stronger bond, at least like, you create that timetable where it's 10 o'clock, they're gonna sit in the circle, story time, the teacher reads the story, they participate, and you ask them simple question. So you start from which and what, and then later you take them from like, simple to a little bit complex. So, there's a research by philosopher called Blanks. So he has stated 4 levels of questioning, where in the first stage, you just say, okay, tell me where do you see this? So they can pinpoint, or you can ask what is the color of this animal. So they can just pinpoint straightforward answer. And then you tell them, can you find 2 different animals that can walk, or that have 2 feet or 4 feet or 2 ears or big eyes? So you categorize, and later then you go to more abstract thinking. Okay, tell me which animal is not here. I mean, the diagram is there, the pictures are there, but there are certain things not present. So you let them think analytically. So you break down how you are approaching with the question, because questioning is one of the interesting technique where students can express what they understand. And hence, a language development is key in children who are from 0 to 5 years old. Especially it kicks up under 2 to 3 years old, where it's changing rapidly. So you have to involve them into more communication related learning and followed by physical, because whole life they will be like physically active. But language, some people have speech delay. So it's necessary for them to participate more, because the more they talk, their speech gets more clearer, and like, you can understand what they are trying to tell you, because it takes certain time to develop that clarity in speech.
That's pretty interesting. Let's put a scenario where a child who is like 2 or 3 years old, and the child is very shy, who is not trying to come out, right? And now you have to deal with that child. How do you deal with that? Because now your goal is to build the confidence into that person who is more expressive, right? So how do you deal with that situation?
First thing, to know a child, you need to collect the data. How do you get the data in any childcare center or children's services center? Talk to the parents, easy way. Pick up the phone when they pick up and drop. Have a chat. It will give you some idea of like, what the child likes at home, what he or she is interested in playing around. So about the toys, could be the storybook, could be certain color preference. So talk to the parents and document that, because once you have document, then you plan your lesson based on what are their interests. So here in Australia, there is a thing called strength-based approach. So you plan anything in the childcare, keeping that fact in mind, okay, these are the things that would interest the child. Rather than, okay, somebody likes this, somebody doesn't. No, forget what they don't like.
What I understand from you is that they actually create a customized course actually for a specific student. Is that what you're saying?
Right. So it will also be for the whole bunch of kids as well, because if you just ask them what is their favorite color, if they are female, they will typically 9 out of 10 will say it's pink. If you ask male, they will be blue, because that's the stereotype.
Yeah.
All you have to do is teach them what are stereotypes, and then you break them down.
How do you do that?
Okay, now all you need to do is just ask them, do you like pink? They will be like, yes, we do. But he'll be like, but today I got the chocolate that is not pink. We have a cake for lunch or dinner for the afternoon tea, which is not pink. Now tell me, would you love that? And who would say no to the king? So now you have introduced different color concept, which is also acceptable. There are certain toys, like teddy bear are not pink. They would be brown. So you give them some kind of, you feed that knowledge, okay, different colors are also acceptable, as well as the idea of, okay, I got a Bluey. So in Australia, the toy called Bluey, a character called Bluey is popular. Even like girls, they love it. So the idea is bring something that is not pink and talk about that. And the once you talk further about, it's not about color, it's about what you like. Then you have just started the conversation, okay, colors are acceptable. That's how you introduce the concept of diversity. You talk about hand color, you talk about people in different color. We all come from different backgrounds. So you introduce that there are certain things called storybooks. Like there is certain story called The Very Ugly Duckling. So it talks about a dark, different colored of duck and talks about how that is rejected by lots of other animals in the habitat. So you talk about those things and tell them how do you feel? If that animal is being treated different, how do you feel? So you get their opinion. And then once you have their opinion, then you connect to the real life. Okay. People are treated different way, but is that right or wrong? So you create that curiosity and ask them to make the final judgment. You don't give the verdict, let them judge them. So you just brain boost with some questions, relate them to some stories or some realistic hypothetical scenarios, and then they'll come up with the ideas. So that's how you just have to trick them into thinking differently, thinking positive, because what they observe in television or other way, they acquire that. Your job is to make sure they are learning the right thing in a right way, because you are in a multicultural country. You got to accept all colors or genders. It's okay to wear whatever you want, choice of freedom. So that's how we introduce these concepts, so that in the future they are treating everyone with respect, they don't get bullied and they don't bully anyone, and they grow up as more accepted of whatever their gender or orientations are.
So how about, do you also teach the concept, ideology of LGBTQ?
All right, so the idea is, when I was teaching for last 5-6 years in childcare, so we had some parents who have different orientation. When we learn back in uni about different subjects, we talk about multicultural aspect of Australia, which is good. People have choice. People have right to choose what they want, what they wear, what they eat, and how they want to be addressed. Or they have all the rights, because everybody is welcome. Not every place you get where to be what you want. So some people are expressive, some people don't want to talk more about it. But the thing is, you have to have that form of conversation where a child is able to talk about it and able to accept about people's choices. Some parents might find a little bit offensive, but you have to let them know, especially in certain communities, it's not acceptable at all. So all you have to do is talk to them, find a solution, because at the end of the day, they were educated like that. So our job is to break that barrier, start the conversation, and it would lead up somewhere positive.
Do you think so? Because there is also a very big debate, because one of my colleagues who I work with, she actually brought up this stuff, because she has 2 kids who are 3 years and 5 years old, right? She was actually not very happy about it. She was saying their kids, they don't know about this stuff, and if you bring that kind of stuff into their attention, then it might encourage them to go into that path, in terms of changing the genders, which is also, being an open society, you are welcome to accept that, right? Can that backfire, you reckon? What do you think?
It depends. As I said, not everybody is accepting everything. They are free to their opinion and their choices. But at the same time, you should know where you are living. Half of the Australian population are immigrants. They have come from different walks of life, and they have found this a common home where they have certain role to play. So you will get people from different culture. Sometimes they don't align with certain cultural belief, but that's okay. It's their opinion. If you don't like something, you express it in a right way. You don't have to disrespect someone's belief. It's okay to do that. But also there need to be some form of conversation which would ultimately let that person make the choice. Let's say certain kids might not be aware. Give them some time, but over the years that might build up. into some frustration or some emotional damage. You don't know what path, what their thought process are. So all you have to do is have some form of conversation. Sometimes you can organize some meeting or seminars where like invite a guest, talk about multiculturalism. Let parents attend that. Then what would happen, at least they are expert, they would give them some opinion. Some people might still not agree to that, it's okay. They are subjected to their own opinion. But at the end of the day, you open a conversation and let people have their thought on that. And at the end of the day, we are in the center, not for the parents, we are there for the children. So you should know what is your primary goal, who are your broader audience, who are you catering for. So if that's the children, you have to make sure they are learning, they get right education, because what education you get in Australia, you might not get in other countries, it's different. So you have to have that avenue where discussion can occur respectfully, and people have right to have their opinion, a say about it. They might agree to that, they might not agree to that, but at the end of the day, you need to start a conversation. Because without a conversation, you won't have more avenue for discussion for the future. And how would you refine your policies and multicultural aspect of the country if there is no conversation happening? Because somebody has to speak up.
Absolutely, totally agree. And I think that you're trying to say is that you want to educate the kid as much as possible. You're not hiding stuff, you're not keeping stuff aside. You want to bring that into discussion right from when they are a child, so that they have their own wisdom, knowledge, and education in terms of making decisions about it.
Yeah, that's what they call it. If you educate anyone, right from childcare, primary, secondary, uni, whatever level they continue to study, open the conversation, give them knowledge about everything, and let them choose and pick what they want. So as a teacher, your job is not to choose and pick. You give them as much knowledge as possible and let them make the decision, because they are the final decision maker. You want to enable independent decision making skill, and decision making skill is a key learning aspect in all level of education, whether you start primary, secondary or tertiary, doesn't matter. You need to have that decision making where nobody is talking on your behalf. You should be in charge of your own opinion, your own decision.
So that's how you teach your small kids, which is quite understandable.
I mean, I used to.
You used to.
So now I have left that industry for a while now. So 3 years now. So yeah.
So what were the messages that you used to give to the parents of those kids? I believe that how they are taught back in their home also plays a very crucial role in their development. Is there something that you would instruct their parents to do to get the cognitive development of the kids in a proper way?
So basically, the way we communicate parents is we try to use 3 different methods. There is one called oral communication. So when they are dropped in the morning or picked up in the evening by their parents, so that's where we tell them what has happened. If there is something significant happened, we just tell them straight away, and they could go to different apps. They just apps where they can track what they have done throughout the day, what they have eaten, what time they have slept, what they have learned, and we document them on day-to-day basis. We call it observation. So there are pictures, there are description, there are outcomes, we put all there. And if there was something like more serious or something that parents should be aware, so usually if it's some physical accident or something happened, we have to report within 24 hours. So we give them depends on whether it's like how serious the matter is. So we inform them, we document them, and we write them email. Or sometimes even if you just fill the physical paper, when they come in the evening, you have to get their signature. So you let them know. So mostly it's oral day-to-day basis. If children have learned something very useful, once their parents come, they'll be like, hey, we learned this one. He'll be like, hey, how? So they express. So you always know if they have learned something good because they will be expressive. And some parents might not be great at verbal communication. In that case, we have observation. And every month we used to do 2 observations. So we report, we do a follow-up. And parents could access that, whether their kids are learning the right thing, they are growing age appropriately or not. So they could track back.
How about, let's actually switch gear, and now as you teach students from high school, right? And
right.
That age is really crucial age where they are really highly energetic and they like to do all the weird stuff, right? And how do you handle those students? How's your experience so far teaching students from 11 and 12?
Let's rephrase the term weird. Let's talk them like, they are unique and challenging at times. So what happened is with the senior kids, especially from year 7 to year 10, in Australia we call them as junior, and then there's a senior class year 11, 12, which are more academic based. So on day-to-day basis, their moods are different. What they eat on daily basis, who are they hanging out with, whether they had a good sleep or not, you can clearly tell them. So in the morning when you enter the door, and if there is student just calling you from far away, remember, they had some highly energetic breakfast and they will keep you on your toes for the day. Remember that. And then there will be some people, you'll be like, hey, how are you? And they'll just be quiet. You'll be like, okay. So if you have those kind of response, you can judge, okay, these students need more help than today. So you give a little bit more time. And also depends day to day. When you are teaching, just have some brain break time and just tell them how they are doing. If everything is okay, just ask simple, like doesn't take more than few seconds. And some people open up, some people, like you can just read their faces because you spend around 5 to 6 hours per day with them. You see them in the ground running, and then when they come to the class, like they are quiet, then you tell what is the thing that is causing the change, because you saw them running around and all of a sudden now they'll be like not in the mood to learn, or like sometimes like they are upset, or like you just have a chat. So all you have to do is communicate, and they tell you, most of them tell you. And because place where I teach is only like is a boys high school, so there is a single gender, so all you see is boys every, like from 9 to 3 you just see the boys, and they come up with some weird excuses. Let's not say weird, sorry, my bad. It should be some unique approach to conversation too. They will ask you out of nowhere question, and the moment you ignore that question, they'll chase you with the same question, whether it's in the class or outside. So the best way is to address them. Sometimes you can be sarcastic, but address them, keep them entertained so that they don't bother you further and they are more focused. Otherwise, if students know, okay, this is what is triggering teachers, then teaching wouldn't be like smooth journey for you. It will have lots of adventure. So please be aware, do not write, whether it's childcare, do not write anyone, because you are not promoting a positive conversation. In secondary settings, you address them if you want to have a peaceful teaching journey ahead in the day.
Always address.
Yes, especially like where I teach, it's so much of energy right from the morning. You see students like, working with slushy, coffee, energy drink. I mean,
is that allowed inside class?
Not inside class, not inside school, but when you drive from your home to your workplace, on the way you see a bunch of students walking around. You see, I mean, you don't communicate, but you observe. And these are the energy which are going to be utilized during the classroom hours, or like, during the school time. So you observe, you keep your eyes open, and then you know how to respond, because you know what are their source of energy. You need to balance them out throughout the day. So yes.
And the energy drink, I don't think that brings a really positive energy.
They don't. Firstly, it's highly caffeinated, and their body is not ready to hand over the amount of necessary and unnecessary nutrients it has, like sugar, caffeine, you name other additives. They are not ready to handle it, and that's why they hyperactive during lesson or even in the school. And that is one reason we have banned that in the school. So we have clearly instructed nobody should be walking through that door with that energy drink. And also in the canteen, like there are a lot of canned drink or food that is either zero sugar or less sugar. So those things at least help them to make some informed choice on eating healthy, or bring food from your home, or like even in the canteen if you buy healthy food. And because what you consume would determine how you're going to perform in the day.
Yeah, right. Good. So how about in terms of some kids getting into fight? Is there bullying inside the school? Have you seen that, and how controlled that is?
All right. So basically, that's the story of almost every school. Normal bullying. I mean, there are different ways you put these things into. So sometimes you have certain form of conversation which other students don't appreciate. They consider it bullying, and sometimes they make the same stuff back at the other people. So the thing is, you have to address what is right and what is wrong. You can't criticize people based on their color, their gender, their religion, their orientation, their choices. You can't do that. That's against the school's policy and department's policy. So departments themselves have certain anti-racial or anti-bullying policies. You have to abide that. Tell them, students, so every classroom has certain poster which we tell them, especially when they start year 7. So these are the things we don't do in the school. We are very clear with do's and don'ts that students should abide by in the school, so that everyone feels welcome and respected. And there is no tolerance towards bullying. Here or somebody reports, we directly report. There is a thing called central, so that the parents get notified sometimes. If it is more serious, the deputy gets notified, the head teacher get notified, and the students, we tell them verbally, these are the things you shouldn't be doing. Make the wise decision. Either you apologize, sort your things out, tell me it is not what you intended to, and shouldn't be happening in the future, because if it comes back again, there are worse consequences than just letting their parents know or reporting head teachers or admin. Because we promote the right learning approach to them. We want them to be respectful to one another. World is already at chaotic space now. Yeah. So as a teacher, we have to find a way to motivate them. Okay, there is still hope, and you would be part of that.
That's very powerful, actually, really powerful. I'm very curious. I want to ask one question, as you have also taught kids as well, and now you are teaching also a student who are in high school.
Right.
So do you think that whatever you have taught in the childcare center, right, is that actually is working really well when you look at the students that you are teaching? Are they confident? Are they expressive? Are they moving along the right track? Is that you were expecting that a child is going to be when they reach in their high school?
Yeah, so there are certain things that you learn through practice, your teaching degree, that you can take across the secondary or primary teaching. The thing is, when we talk in the childcare, we are very polite. Our voice is not loud. I know, as a male teacher, my voice is a little bit louder, but in the childcare, it's so nice that they feel welcome. They don't feel scared. We have to tone down our voice, talk to them very properly so that they can approach us if they need it. And that approach I have applied for 5 to 6 years. And now when I go to a high school setting, I talk to some students and I'll be like, can you do that for me, please? And they would be surprised, please? Because in high school setting, they don't use the word please very often, and for them it's surprising. And they feel respected about it. Okay, this teacher is using this word please. Also, the way we talk.
Doesn't that mean that they have forgotten that culture then?
Correct, because they have grown up, and remember, half of their time is on the phone screen, and how often they think they are watching the videos or any information that talks about positive manners. These days, the negative things attract quickly as compared to the good aspect of it.
Yeah.
So these are the reasons where my skills come in place, where I talk to them properly. It's about giving chance. They have done something silly. You know that. Either you can give them some consequence for that, then you are not giving them chance to grow. One of my teaching philosophy is everybody deserves a chance, and let them make their choices. So if you know, let's say, these are the choices and these are choices they should not have made. Ask them what they have done, something that is not acceptable. And would that continue? How would they tackle same stuff in the future? Let them come up with their own solution and give them chances. This is kind of warning, we shouldn't be doing that. And next time it happens, we would have a strong follow-up. So give them chances, and then you would have a positive relation with the students. And now that student would have the mindset that, okay, these teachers gives me chances. How often teacher gives chances? So they have one positive note you have started is knowing your students better and building that bond.
Great, that's a great learning from you, actually. And I want to ask a very specific question, because I can also reflect back you and me in our school days, right? We want to give trouble to teacher to, just for entertainment.
Right.
It's not about taking a shot on teacher, but we wanted to entertain ourselves, and we wanted to give really hard time to our teacher. And I'm sure that happens to your class as well. For example, if someone does really silly thing that pisses you off, which often might happen at your school, how do you handle that?
All right, first thing you have to remember, the age difference. For them, everything is fun, whether it's right or wrong. So the idea is, don't fall for that. All they want from you is attention. You don't give them. So if they are causing some trouble, and then you raise your voice, you scream at them, you are disrespectful, you have lost the battle already. Easy way is smile and just ask them, can you just stay back for 5 minutes after the class? We need to have a quick chat. And he would know what you are talking about. You would know what you're talking about. The whole class has no idea. And in that way, you have not addressed these issues in public. It means you are respecting him. Also, you are addressing, okay, these are the things he shouldn't have done. But guess what? We will find a better way to deal with that. So let's say nobody wants to stay 5 minutes after the class to have a chat or reflect back what he has not done. So first day, talk after that, or
Does that work all the time?
Most of the time it does, because nobody wants to give 5 minutes from their half an hour lunch time or recess time. Because they want to go out, run around, eat, go to bathroom, do other stuff that they want to do that. So they have 1 hour classes. So during that time, so if they have just distracted the whole class, sometimes there are certain things you have to address in the class itself. So you just draw a clear line. Okay, let's be clear. These are the things we don't talk. If these things persist, we'll have a further consequence. So you warn them too. But if it's like something like very disrespectful, but only you and him knows, that's where you tell them to wait for 5 minutes. We'll have some reflection time, or we'll have a chat, come to a common ground. We'll give him a chance as always, and then these are the things he shouldn't be following up in the future. So yes, I mean, we were good learners. Hence, we already asked teacher what he is about to teach next day. We are already prepared, whether it's math, science, we were already prepared. And then we used to trouble because we know now we have more energy. Where do we channelize? So we trouble teacher. Yes, we accept that. But right now, the problem is they don't know what they have learned yesterday. They don't revise. Revision is the key, which they are not following day-to-day basis. So what you do is, you teach in a way, make sure they are learning within the class. If you leave extra work so that, assuming they will go home, revisit, only 10 to 20% students would do that. Because they have their own social life, they have their own scrolling thing they have to do, they have their own personal reasons not to interact much at home, or go out to the playing space or whatever. So everything has to be within the class. And if those things disturbing to the learning environment persist in the class, you have to come up with a plan. Address them in personal space, address them after the class, or if it's too urgent, just ask them to step out for a minute, talk to them nicely, and most of the time it works. Because they feel you have protected their privacy, not humiliate them in public, you have given them a chance to redeem, and you'll have more respect in the future. Because they will be, okay, this is the teacher who had given me chance.
Great. I mean, from your experience, you feel that you can handle kids of year 11 and 12. Is that what you think?
In Australia, handling year 11, 12 is the easiest thing. Handling year 7, 8, 9, 10, the junior classes is hard, because they have just come from primary where it's more disciplined, limited learning. But once you are in secondary space, every period you have to go from one class to another. Like how we study is, the teacher used to come to the same class, but here it's different. So after every period, they move from one class to another. So they have the room number, they have the timetable. So for period 1, they might be in this room. Period 2, they might go to the next block. So it changes. So it's the teacher who has more stable room, and the student has to move. So often triggers the smooth transition time between classes. So you have to always keep that 5 to 10 minutes of buffer time. They come, they settle, they get ready to learn, and then you have your outcomes to achieve for the day.
Basically, I know you have taught so many students, from the kids from year 11 and 12, and you have learned a lot in this country because you came as an international student. You worked really hard to be where you are right now. So looking back, what decisions in your life made the more difference or had an impact in your life the most?
Place where we come from, we have already seen ups and downs. You know that, I know that. Our parents had already worked hard enough. All you can do is get better from here, financially and education-wise. Our parents have not got great education. They just know basic. So all they wanted for us to do is get a good education and make a life for ourselves. I mean, we might have lots of ambition, but they are worried you don't need to have any ups and downs in your life, just following your passion. So their idea was, you get good education, and then once you start making your life, you follow your passion, because you can follow that at any time. So that was their whole goal. So what we have done is seen things around us, observed it, and had that foundation of, okay, this is what I want to achieve.
What did you want to achieve?
So my basic goal was to go into the medicine, but back home it's very competitive and financially it's very challenging. If I were in anywhere 10% of the situation that I am, I could have done it already. But that was not the case. So you had to go for the second option. Second option was, I enjoy teaching back then. So back in Kathmandu, I have taught for quite a years, different schools, colleges, you name it. I studied bachelor, I was teaching up to bachelor, certain subjects. Could do that because it's all required, it's the preparation and you have already got the foundational knowledge good. And then when you came here, you started childcare teaching. Then finally you had that chance to go back what you wanted to do. Teaching, completed masters, did some work placement for around 4 times 6 weeks.
So would you say that your experience of teaching back in our country was like a turning point? That is what actually led you to inspire to get into this field in this country?
Yeah, also like teaching is all about keeping you updated. You will have fresh knowledge every day. What you have learned back then might change. You need to adapt, and adapting is surviving. So the idea was to build on what we have observed from the teacher, what we have learned ourselves, and how we can refine it on day-to-day basis so that we can have an impactful approach on a student's life. Make them a better person, because after parents, if they are spending more time, it's with the teachers. And we have powerful tool to influence them to learn something positive and make a living out of their skill.
Great. One quick question I want to ask. If a student comes and tell you that they are demotivated, how do you handle them?
Someday it is okay. Even we get demotivated someday. All you have to do is, you know what? Let it be. This shall too pass. Use that sentence, because everything is temporary.
Yeah.
You are permanent. So what you have to do is, if someday students are super demotivated, okay, you know what? Let's not learn today. Let's watch some motivational videos, or you motivate them, or find some topic that interests both of you. So I do get frequently those students who are less motivated someday, or they would straight away come in the lunch, Mr. Singh, I'm not motivated to learn today. I said, okay, I have a plan for you. Now you have given 5% hope, okay, he might have some better plan. So you say, instead of teaching for 1 hour, he said, we'll talk about life a little bit for 10 minutes, we'll learn for 20 minutes, and remaining 30 minutes, we'll do a little bit of work, and then we'll chat back. So you have divided your time into what you wanted to do, addressing what they need, and overall both parties are satisfied, because you want to achieve the outcome, you want to help the kids, and that kid wanted to find someone who could hear them out and give them genuine suggestion.
Right, wonderful. I'll ask another specific question now. Now, if you have to give 3 pieces of advice to the students who are already in Australia or who is aspiring to come to Australia to be where you are at right now, what would that suggestion be?
First thing, research properly before you come here, because it's a whole different game. Your timetable has to be precise. You have to do your own work. You have to look after your finances. So have a structured timetable would help you achieve whatever you came here for, number 1. Number 2, prioritize things. What are the things that must be done? Can't wait tomorrow. Like grocery shopping you do on the weekends. Don't wait it on for weekdays, because you have other things to do, your work, your cooking, everything will be there. Prioritize what is needed most. And other thing, don't listen to more people. Take advice from everyone. Select what would benefit you, and then you implement on your own, because if you take lots of advice, you end up doing nothing. You'll be more demotivated hearing their advice. So all you have to do is take advice. If there are certain things that makes you feel good about it, adapt that. Something that is already being oh, I haven't achieved this much, or this is something it's a long way to go. Don't follow that. Find other ways, because you will have 5 advice, adapt 1. You don't have to take everybody's advice. But yes, always be open to listening, and you only choose what motivates you and what would work for you, because you have lots of influences, you have lot of motivation. Now if you open any YouTube videos, Instagram videos, you will find every second person is a motivational speaker.
Yeah.
But are they qualified? No, they are not, because all they wanted to is generate an income, giving you feedback. Have they implied that? Meet them in the real life? They are different. That's why they say never meet your heroes, because they are different from what you see them on the screen.
Yeah,
so get motivated what they are doing, the positives, and then modify it based on what you are good at. And then you follow that structured pattern. Don't listen, and have a financial plan, because in Australia, nobody is here to help you out. You should have a strong financial plan, great routine, and take feedback, but make your own decision, and then later you will have no regret on blaming someone, because your success and failure is all your own. You take what you feel right to do. So all you have to do is hear the voice, make a decision, and give some time. Don't rush if you are not getting a result instantly, because the longer time you give to something, it will get better from right there. Nothing will get any worse than what you started it.
That's a very fantastic advice. Another question that I would want to ask, this is going to be our last question for today. If you have to go back in time when you came to Australia, and if you have to give advice to your younger self, what would that be?
So basically, it would be like, be patient, because back then I was a little bit impatient. Be patient and things would fall into place, because what you do today, you might not get the same result a year after. It means things would eventually change. So be patient. Don't listen too much to other people, which I used to. What people will say, what society would say, what somebody would think about it. It's like, screw that. What is something you want?
What is the thing that you want? And
correct. And break them down into steps. Okay, this is the first thing I want to achieve in next 2 years. And then what's next? Always have a backup plan. If this backfires, what is my next plan? So always have that plan. And at the end of the day, try to learn as much as you can. Don't limit yourself just by completing certain degrees. If you want to go higher, because the higher education you get it, your brain broadens up. It means you'll get more experience around. You'll meet more new people. You'll have time to think differently. You will have different perspectives in life, and perspective will change the opinion about certain things that you had few years back. So please have opinion, listen to the opinion, keep working, and give some time. Don't rush, because something will grow up eventually. And you'll find yourself in better space and making wise decisions.
That's fantastic. I actually really love one of the suggestions that you made earlier, which is that listen to every opinions but make your own judgment, because that person who is giving the suggestion is giving from his experience, and it is not completely customized for you. Now you have to filter, study your own life, and adapt only those suggestions which can actually fit into your lifestyle and your way of thinking, right? Be very picky in what you want to adopt. And always try, if you feel very strongly about something, just try that out. That suggestion really could be meant for you. With that, Manoj, we have come to close off our podcast, and I thank you very much for your time and for sharing your knowledge so openly. I believe this podcast will add so much of value to many people who will be listening in due time. So I really appreciate your time for today.
Thank you. All good. We'll catch up next time. And good luck with everything, whatever you guys are doing. And just remember, failure is okay. It's okay to fail, because you need to lose a small war to win a big battle. So that's the bigger aim. You fail with a small dream, achieve bigger later on.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And to everyone who's watching, I hope this episode added a lot of values in your life. If it did, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. I very much appreciate your time, and I'll see you next episode of the Impact Diaries.